I'm Julie Bartkey with this Senate update. The Senate E12 committee passed its omnibus education finance package on Thursday, but not before some final words by some Republicans saying that although they're increasing spending in this package, they don't believe it goes far enough, particularly in putting more money on the formula.
I share the disappointment of those who testified yesterday. I wish we could do more for our students. But we're increasing spending over $450 per student, and the best we can afford is 1% on the formula. Why? Well, we heard Senator Dames talk about the fact that we've got a 1.8% inflator built into the Department of Education that's not going into the classroom, that's not going to benefit students, that's not going to teacher pay, that's just going to grow the bureaucracy. We've got all-day kindergarten that we passed last biennium that's raised costs above the original expectations. And for everyone who pushed for all-day kindergarten should know that this program is part of the reason why we're having a hard time getting the money for increase on the formula. Now, I'm sure the DFL talking point is going to be that Republicans are against all-day kindergarten, and that's false. I personally support all-day kindergarten. I think it's a good program. I think it's been successful. I supported it when I was on the school board and actively supported it. But I just felt it was reckless for us to start a new statewide commitment when we had underfunded the basic needs of our students for over a decade. The increased expense for this all-day K comes to about 2% on the formula. So now we're pushing universal pre-K. And this program might be successful. We've got now going to have a report that hopefully will show that it is. But there are many private providers in our districts that are giving quality pre-kindergarten education. And we've heard from them that they will be hurt, they will go out of business if this proposal goes forward. Now, I still haven't quite figured out, Mr. Chair, how we've kept 85% of the recommendations out of the governor's budget, but only can fund it with 20% of his request. But I'm sure it'll work out. Know that the Star Tribune also recently ran an article that said our pre-K strategy here in Minnesota is working. That we have quality pre-K education overall, and yet we need to pull this into the public schools, I guess. So understand this. This bill pre-commits $700 million in spending next biennium. And that's $700 million that won't be available for formula increases next time we get together for a budget. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it back to you.
Any other comments from members? Questions?
Okay, well, Madam Chair, before I move Senate File 811 as amended, I want to thank everyone for their thoughtful participation. We've put together a bill that I'm very proud of, and it may not have every single item that you may have wanted, but I believe each of you has something that you've been a part of it. Ultimately, this process, we come together, and once this is conferenced, I would hope that we're all together as well. We do have slightly over 2% on the formula, the 1 and 1, when you add. The expectation is that there will be additional funds. Can I promise that? No, but that's what we'll continue to work on, and I believe you all know that there's a great deal of groundswell support out there to do that. I was not at this point willing to trade off the formula for some of the very important priorities that we've also heard in testimony. School buildings. School buildings are in disrepair. We need to do something. The House didn't recommend anything in that area. The governor did not recommend anything additional. The Senate did, and I thank Senator Dahl and the others that have put together an article with about $50 million that makes reform. We have a disparity of over $300 per student with the current system, and this will put that reform in place. I believe this was the #1 priority of the Minnesota Rural Education Association. Schools for Equity and Education spoke for it. We heard again from AMSD echoing the support and others, and I'm very pleased that we are, because this is something that also has to subsidize the general fund when you do not have enough for school building repairs, and it's an energy efficiency argument. So I'm very pleased that we have the nearly $50 million for that provision. Additional funds for telecommunication access as well. The importance of that pointed out to us by the Minnesota School Boards Association and others when we started session. The school readiness, and mention was made of all-day kindergarten. Almost 100% of the Minnesotans for the kindergarten, they're on board, they're participating. And you could have perhaps made the argument that we stay at half day because we weren't providing enough for the system 1 through 12 and half day. But sometime, you move ahead. People were basing decisions as to where they were going to live based on the zip code of whether it was provided in a district. This meant thousands of dollars to many of the parents that really appreciated having that opportunity available for them, and somehow it worked. Is it additional funds? Yes, it is. I believe it was the prudent investment to make. And if you disagree, I understand that, respect that point of view, but I believe we were right. I feel very convinced we were right to go that direction, just as I do on early learning for the additional investment. This is not the full-scale UPK-4. As you may have read, and just recent feedback on that, this is something for the readiness dollars, the emphasis on readiness, that school districts in testimony said, we like that flexibility. You heard that from the School Boards Association, from AMSD and others. Yes, they want money and formula, but if you're going to put additional funds in early education, the readiness, the flexibility, the scale back, that is a win-win situation. There's opportunity with readiness dollars, as there has been. This has been in place for many years, to work with multiple providers in doing that. It's a local decision as to how that's going to be done. And again, it's not mandated that all school districts would do it. I strongly support that. I'm very pleased that it's a part of it. The teacher development quality on the Q comp. Senator Stump, I know you're elated that finally we're going to make some additional progress there. This happens by putting it in the bill. You can't, if you just say additional formula without some additional seed corn dollars, it won't happen. And just as it wouldn't happen on the facilities. So, I'm very pleased, and we'll make it available for intermediates, for co-ops as well. For student support services, the $8 million. It used to be, the argument was, well, in the formula, we do that, and you'll hire more counselors, et cetera. Well, what's happened? We've near the bottom in the country on school counselors in terms of what that ratio is. We need to provide that additional incentive. And so, Senator Kent and others in your efforts for, counselor social workers, the nurses, school psychologists, chemical dependency counselors, there's a need for that. And I'm very pleased that we do have funds for that. College in the schools. More money is needed to do that. And if it's in the formula in and of itself, it wasn't going to happen to the extent that Senator Clausen has in that bill. And Senator Pratt, you've worked with them. I know there's been visits, and I'm very pleased with that. This is going to make college much more affordable, right at your high school, taking that high-level rigorous course and getting that academic credit. That saves money. It can save not only hundreds, thousands of dollars for students in the affordability of education. So that additional infusion for college and the schools is very important. The free breakfast, Senator Johnson, we have it for the first grade, but looking at, we talked about the vision screening, but a student that is prepared just to learn, and whether it's an empty stomach or needing to get the vision corrected, these are all a part of students being ready to learn. Vocational education, wonderful additional funds that we have in a bipartisan basis. And Senator Stump, I don't know how much you've worked on it. I could go around the table for Senator Jensen, Senator Dames, Senator Weber. We have proposals in here for the cooperative that's going to be put in southwest Minnesota. I look so forward to that happening. Additional provisions as well, and they've been vetted. We've talked about it, and I believe it all adds ultimately to preparing the world's best workforce. So, members, I appreciate each of your thoughts, your concerns. We'll continue to work on different aspects of this. It will go to Finance Committee next Wednesday, then to Tax Committee Thursday, probably to the floor the 29th is what I hear, and then ultimately to conference, where we'll have a very robust discussion. But we're all passionate about the best education possible for students, and I respect the diversity of viewpoints, and hopefully we'll all come together in the end. I'm very optimistic that we will. Finally, I want to thank staff for us incredibly great job. They've been pretty much working around the clock, putting together our amendments, doing the runs, etc. And you're all here, and I'd like us to applaud. You're great, and we'll look forward to the continued revisions, the inevitable revisions as we proceed, but we salute your professionalism. The nonpartisan staff, the partisan staff, both sides, I know you're all committed, and we appreciate that. So, members, I appreciate everyone's input again, and I would renew my motion that Senate File 811 as amended be recommended to pass, and we would adopt, and included in that, we would adopt the various spreadsheets, and also there would be the direction that for technical corrections, et cetera, they would be included within that motion. And I would so move.
And re-referred to
And re-referred to finance.
With that, any questions, comments? I think we've had good comments, a good way to end this meeting. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Motion carries.